Why? What do you mean?
No way. He's all of a sudden a Sixers fan.
Why not?
Do you really believe that?
Well, I mean,
You want to
he was
believe it.
leaving Washington, the Wizards. Those are his two options,
True.
right?
True.
He's embracing it all, right? Ahead, all right, Mike Tyson, Dan Le Batard, and a toad. You have to see it to understand. That's coming your way.
I'm glad you had to say that, and I have to say it later. Okay, not one, but two NBA playoff games on tap tonight. Bucks, Celtics about to get underway, and also Rockets, Warriors, four of the biggest stars in the league back in action tonight, too. But there's so many questions surrounding all four of these stars: Giannis, Kyrie, Stephen, and James Harden. Let's break them down and try to get to some answers. Number one, do the Celtics have an answer for Giannis? All 32 of his points in Game 3 came from inside the paint or from the free throw line. That is a problem if you're the Boston Celtics. Let's see how they adjust defensively in Game 4 tonight. Also in that game, which Kyrie Irving is going to show up? He shot 30% from the field in the last two games after a big Game 1, and he's been unable to take advantage of mismatches all series, shooting 1 of 9 in isolation against big men. To the other series, will James Harden look like regular season James Harden again in Game 4? He scored 41 points in a must-win Game 3, the most points he's scored in a game this entire postseason. And will Steph Curry bust out of his slump? He's shooting 35% from the field, 25% from three in the series. Both are the worst marks in the first 3 games of the series in his entire career. That says something. But this is Steph Curry, and the Warriors believe it is only a matter of time.
He usually has a good game.
But does he do anything that you noticed?
He's just really, really competitive, and he gets locked in, and he gets a little bit angry, and he comes out with a lot of focus and a lot of fight.
As a competitor, I know he's pissed with himself, and I think that'll bode well for us. Probably is going to lead to some aggressiveness, and we like when he's aggressive, so I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, they don't seem very worried, do they? Here's the thing. Let's show you what's gone wrong this series. He's just not hitting from Steph Curry range, which is his own range that he's created. According to Second Spectrum, he's 0 for 10 on shots from 27-plus feet after shooting 36% from that distance in the regular season. He's also missing open looks, shooting 21% when he has more than 5 feet of cushion from the closest defender, including the wide-open dunk he missed at the end of Game 3, which we're going to give him a break and not show it again. He could be due to bounce back, though. Second Spectrum, which measures the likelihood of each shot going in, shows that his shots this series have been the same quality as they have the regular season. Stephen A. Smith joins us now live from Houston. And so, Stephen A., you heard the Stephen Curry numbers, and you heard what he said after Game 3. He owned it, said it was just an off night. But he is now 8 for 32 from 3 this series. That is ugly. He does have that dislocated finger, all taped up on the left hand. Overall, though, how concerned are you about the two-time MVP?
I'm not really that concerned. This is the greatest shooter that we've ever seen. How many times do you expect Steph Curry to look bad, to shoot 7 of 23 from the field, to shoot 25% from three-point range? At some point in time, your resume has to matter. He's a 2-time league MVP. He's a guy that averages 24-plus in postseason throughout his career. He's a guy that's been averaging about that or better since, throughout his entire career. He is universally recognized as one of, if not the greatest shooter we have ever seen in NBA history. Clearly, his performances have not been up to snuff. He knows that better than anybody. And obviously, you would anticipate that he'll have a breakout game at some point. But to walk around here and act like suddenly he can't shoot anymore and there's something to be so overly concerned about, I think it's disrespectful to Steph Curry. We have to point it out when we see it that he's not playing up to snuff. But we need to pump the brakes when we walk around here acting like he can't rectify this situation immediately. Because off nights for him are average to better than average nights in terms of shooting the basketball for most. He's Steph freaking Curry. We need to remember that.
Exactly. I will say this. Nobody on this set is doubting one Stephen Curry. Meantime, from one MVP to the reigning, James Harden looking for back-to-back 40-point games in the postseason for the first time in his career. He was much more aggressive in Game 3, Stephen A., attacking that bucket, and their entire offense ran more smoothly. Is that James Harden we need to see for them to beat Golden State in this series?
Well, I think to some degree, absolutely. He's got to put up 30-plus, there's no question. He's got to shoot better than 44 to 45% from the field, which is what I had said to Mike Wilbon just the other day, and he concurred, of course. You look at the 2 big-time three-point shots he hit regulation, and then in overtime, you got to give credit to where credit is due because that's really been his Achilles heel. It hasn't been the ability to score or score from the field. It was his effectiveness and efficiency from three-point range. But I also think it's important to point out he's been helped along the way. You got a guy in Eric Gordon that has been playing lights out, averaging 24 a game, shooting the basketball very well, especially from three-point range. And even though Chris Paul definitely needs to be more assertive, without question, the bottom line is his numbers haven't been that bad either. He's shooting 47% from the field and better than 35% from three-point range. So let's understand, we expect more from James Harden, or pretty much more of the same, but he still has to have help in order to beat this squad.
Yeah, but overall, a very confident Rockets team, also because they've now won 4 straight at home this postseason and 11 straight at home overall. Tip-off, 9:30 Eastern time. All right, Stephen A., thank you, sir. Former teammates Harden and Kevin Durant piling up points. It's the 4th time opposing players are averaging 35 points per game through 3 games of a playoff series. Pretty impressive company that includes an epic series between Vince Carter, Vince Hannity, and AI, Allen Iverson, way back in 2001. Kevin?
Sage Legs back with us here. Okay, shooting slumps, they happen. You've been a part of it. Yeah. You've experienced it. Sure. It's a completely different story, though, when you can't find your shot in the playoffs. What has to change? What are you seeing from Steph?
Couple of things. So I think one thing that's not good, and this has happened with Steph Curry before, the narrative starts to become about Steph. That's the worst thing for a shooter. But the attention is obviously going to go there. He's a 2-time MVP, and he's the greatest shooter that any of us have ever seen. So this is strange. But when you start to make it, the Warriors, too much about trying to get Steph going, you end up getting away from what makes you so hard to guard, which is the lack of predictability about where the ball is going. So for Steph, obviously he wants to be aggressive. He'd love to see a couple go through tonight in the first quarter, but I don't think he needs to press and force that to happen. What Houston has been doing a good job of, Kevin, their switches have been on point. They've done a great job at not giving him what I call chaos plays, which is offensive rebound, and there's a bad out, and now the defense is scrambling to find guys. Nobody punishes you more in those situations than the Golden State Warriors. He hasn't had any of those, which means on those chaos plays, somebody is sprinting to his chest. They're taking that away because those are backbreaker type plays, and he's not getting those early threes in transition. They're running and fanning out to him well. So you'll give Houston credit, but we also know Steph missed a lot of finishes in the last game. He normally makes, that's a big part of his game. He's going to be aggressive, but look, this is a great team. This isn't Steph Curry. Better he plays, better chance they have, but I don't think you just go there at the beginning of the game, try to get Steph going. I think it's a mistake. That plays into Houston's hands.
All right, now fatigue has been one little storyline with the Warriors, and we know about their lack of depth. But DeMarcus Cousins has been out since April 15th with a quad injury, and maybe some good news. He told The Undefeated today, quote, "For me, my goal is I ain't planning on sitting. I don't know the reality of it, but for me, that's not what I'm planning on doing. It's definitely some type of bad movie, but I think it will have a very nice ending. Just wait for it." What impact do you see? You're shaking your head.
I'm shaking
Cousins comes back.
I'm shaking my head, not at the fact that he's going to come back. I'm shaking my head actually out of empathy for him and what he just said and trying to stay positive of what this guy has been through.
Yeah.
You think about the free agency money, and this could be potentially 2 summers in a row.
The Achilles first last year, yes.
That. Right. So the timing of it. So the fact that he's trying to stay that positive is great. But look, when he went down and knowing the nature of the injury, it sounded impossible. Like there's no way that this guy can get back on the court this year. And I think all they're trying to do is say, look, it's going to be right about that time. I mean, if you get into the second half of the NBA Finals, games 4, 5, 6, 7, like that's right around the time frame. Is it completely nuts? I don't think so, but I think it's unrealistic to expect it. I just like the fact that he's trying to stay positive, trying to get back. And I love what he said. Hopefully this nightmare is going to have a happy ending because I think that guy deserves it, man. I know the finite number of years you get to do this as an athlete, and particularly make that kind of money, to have this happen to him twice, a serious injury to shut his season down. I really feel for the guy, and I hope he does make it back.
Keep this in mind. For a grade 2 tear, it usually takes 6 weeks to get healthy. That lines up at the NBA Finals. First, they have to advance past the Rockets. Legs, thank you so much.
All right, coming up, it's been a roller coaster series for Joel Embiid so far. I think we all agree. Michael Wilbon on how concerned the Sixers should be about their star big man coming up for Game 4 tomorrow night. And after the Panthers selected a quarterback in this year's draft, Cam Newton says he's excited about it. He's also returning from shoulder surgery. Louis Riddick explains what the future holds for number 1.